those for Mr. Grossman and yourself. Wish I could be there.
I know.
Pink Floyd reference. Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of Hawks questions here. The Sharks get the number 1 pick, and we somehow land number 3. Do you trade it to the Predators for their 2026 first-round pick?
What? I don't think they're... What? That's an interesting question. I think the thought process there that the Predators suck next year, so you have the chance of getting Gavin McKenna. Is that what they're going for there?
Yes.
I don't think would the Predators be that stupid to accept that trade. I mean, I would if they did, but I think I'd be interested in that. But I mean, it's not that stupid. It's not. Well, here's the thing, though. It's not a guarantee the Predators are going to be that bad next year, though. I mean,
it's not.
It's also not a guarantee that even if they are that bad, they get the first overall pick.
Yeah, I don't think you can give up. Sorry, I backtrack. I don't think you can give up a first in this draft. No, I think we've talked about this. Like, this should be ideally this should be the last haul. If anything, you should be getting an additional pick, like you said. So, well, that sounds all well and good. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm doing that.
That's no better than me going out and fucking betting on something on the sports book. Like, that is...
You can still get Michael Misa at 3. Yeah,
that is the definition of organizational gambling right there.
Yeah, no,
would be like, that's just throwing the dice at the board and hoping it works out. Like, it sounds well and good, but if you're giving up Misa or Higgins for a 25% chance at McKenna...
No.
Yeah, I think...
You can't do that.
I'm sure Blackhawks Twitter would be thrilled with Kyle Davidson.
No, you can't do that. You can't gamble like that. We passed on a 4 for Bedsy last year. We can't do it again.
Tassos, please play devil's advocate.
I'm going to play devil's advocate. I would make.
You are for that trade.
Yeah, I would make the trade. I think Gavin McKenna would go first overall in this year's draft if he was eligible. But he is not. He would not only be the first overall pick, like nobody would touch him.
Yeah.
You know, like Schaefer, Marteau, and Misa, like those kids wouldn't touch Gavin McKenna if he was eligible this year.
Mm-hmm. He looks like he could be Bedsy level. Yeah,
I think he could be better, which is
people say that.
You know, I really do. Now,
I look at the World Juniors. Bedsy was already dominating that tournament at that age. I didn't really see much of McKenna
in his double underage year. No, he wasn't.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Not like the draft year. It wasn't the same.
Well, that was the one that was canceled. He already had like 4 goals and an assist in 2 games, and then the COVID happened, and they had they redid the fall.
He played like Austria though, dude. Like, it's not like, you know, he
had
a hat trick on Austria. It's not like it was the United States, right? So what I will say too is I think the Nashville Predators would make that trade, because I think Barry Trotz hasn't done as great of a job as a GM as a lot of people. I don't know if people thought he was going to be a good GM or not. I didn't really know.
I think it's safe to say now.
No, he's a coach, not a GM. So there's more pressure on him to like fix it now.
There is. You know, you go out there, you spend big money on Stamkos, Marchessault, and Shea, and it has not worked out for you. Now, I believe 2 things. I believe the Nashville Predators are going to be the worst team in the NHL next season. And I also believe that they will think that they're not going to be. And so
like, they're not even going to sell. They're just going to be ass.
They're going to make additions this summer. And Justin might be a little frozen here. We might have to wait to get him back here. But yes, I think the Nashville Predators
should be a playoff team, but that's not. Yeah, no.
That was crazy.
That was crazy.
Continue your thought.
So I think they're going to be better. Or I think they're going to be worse, but they're going to make moves that lean to the idea that they're going to want to be better. Like, they want to be better.
They're going to try to do what they did this year again. Like, they're going to do the same thing and think it's going to fix itself.
Yeah, so I would make the trade. I would make the trade, especially if there is a Mitch Marner or a Mikko Rantanen going to market that you are going to throw everything at. Then
you better get one of them then. That puts all the pressure.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or you trade for Elias Pettersson, or you do something, right? Like, then it puts more pressure to make augmentations to this Blackhawks roster that are not through the draft. Because I've also said this too. I don't know, other than maybe Higgins, but James Higgins, you know, I get it. Like, if Ryan Leonard and Ryan Leonard's going to turn pro as soon as Boston College season ends, you know, so will Gabe Pro. Pro will probably too. Yeah. You know, so I don't know that he would, if Higgins is going to return to like the best situation in Boston College, you know. Yeah. I don't know if they have any like big guys coming in. You know, we haven't seen them. You know, a lot of the CHL kids that have been committing to NCAA schools, like, it's a lot of like, Bowling Green and a lot of like, it's a lot of smaller school, Lake Superior State and Robert Morris and like some of these lower end programs. Like we haven't seen, there's a big belief out there that Gavin McKenna goes to the NCAA next season, right? And we haven't really heard anything about that yet. I'm sure Medicine Hat is still trying to really keep him there. All of this is to say that I don't know that there's a player in the draft this year that's going to step in to the Hawks lineup, and they could not even play for the Hawks next year. And even if they do, like, how much is Porter Martone moving the needle next season for the Blackhawks? Not very much at all, if anything, really. Like, he's a guy that's going to be learning on the fly. Hagens, maybe a little bit. Schaefer, even if I drafted Matthew Schaefer #1 overall, I'd send him back to Erie for another year because
he's hardly played this year.
He's hardly played this season.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, Misa, look at his production, exceptional status. You don't think he can slide into the Hawks lineup like next year?
Maybe, but you're talking about like, if Misa goes 4th or 3rd in this situation, you know what I mean? Like, you're telling me that the top 2 picks aren't playing in the NHL, but the 3rd one is, you know what I mean? Like maybe, but like how often does that happen? Never.
Yeah, not super often, but I mean, you'll get outlier situations too. Like last year, Zach Benson was drafted like 13th by Sabres and played.
You think you think if the Sharks take Schaefer first overall, he's not playing next year?
Maybe.
I think he's already like the second best.
He's already the best. I think he's already the best defenseman on that core. That's how bad their core is. Yeah.
I guess I'm just saying if I were the Hawks, and I ended up with
the Hawks probably doesn't need to play. The Hawks doesn't need to play next year because like they have guys in that D core if they were to draft Schaefer, which I'm obviously not on that train, but I understand what you're saying. Hagens too. Like you look at is he ready? I think he probably is, but you could argue he maybe could use another year in NCAA. So I think for the U.S. they probably want him to go back because that World Juniors team without him next year on U.S. soil, Minnesota could be kind of rough. Yeah.
I think that was a great argument you just laid out. I still I don't see them doing it because in that scenario you're betting
saying the Predators doing it.
The Blackhawks. We're not betting on ourselves there. We're betting on another team being bad. Like if Nashville adds and then it kind of they just needed like a season to experience, eat shit for a little bit, play together, learn each other.
That
and
could go very badly.
And then the Predators make a wild card spot next year. Kyle Davidson.
Then you look like an idiot. Then you're fired. And that's a move that could get you ousted.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs next year.
I know you don't think that, but if they do.
But it's not just that. Like they have to be literally like the worst team.
If you do,
you
like traded a 3rd overall pick for the 19th pick.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you could take this risk.
I think at worst you'd go from like 3 to 5 next year. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't. Nashville's not going to make.
You're
the
making this trade for
year.
Gavin McKenna, so it's like if you don't get McKenna, then it's a fail.
Yeah. The other thing too that I know nobody wants to hear this in CHR land, but
don't say it.
There's no guarantee that the Hawks are very good next year either.
That's true.
We
know that.
They could very well end up in the exact same position, right?
Oh my god.
Which would be terrible for both this show and our psyche, and probably the psyche of Connor Bedard and the fan
the
base
Blackhawks
here.
organization. Yeah, everything.
Yeah. The only way that pays off is if we somehow get lucky and get McKenna. If it doesn't work out, then that's a disaster.
But that's what I'm saying. Like if you did this trade with the expectation that you're probably going to be just as bad, because frankly, like if your biggest addition this summer is James Hagens, you're going to be just as brutal this year or next year as you are this year. I'm sorry. That's just fact of the matter. If you're keeping the lineup the exact same, but you're inserting James Hagens, you're going to stink.
I don't think it's just as bad.
A couple of new additions though. Guys like Morabov, Shadov could come in, guys like that. Yeah.
But those guys are going to be like cutting their teeth in the NHL.
Yeah. No, you need to make another. Yeah, you need to make a big move.
Like we've got like 7-8 guys playing right now that are like 20 years old. So like they're going to be a little better. But yes, the team's not going to take some massive jump next year if there are no new additions.
No, there's got to be. We've said it. Like there has.
So that's what I'm saying. Then maybe, maybe you don't. Maybe if you do this trade with Nashville, and I know we're diving in on just like this like random hypothetical, but I think it's a fun one. Then let's say like you end up with like the 3rd and the 5th overall pick in the draft next year. Like, could you trade both of them for the 1st overall pick?
I don't think anybody's accepting a trade for. Nobody's trading that 1st pick for McKenna. It doesn't matter what the return is. Like he's that level of a prospect. Like same thing if like Hawks are never gonna. I'm sure they got calls. Like they're never gonna trade the 1st pick 2023. Like you're not.
Did anybody offer them the 3rd and the 5th pick? And you know what I mean? Like
I still think they take that. I don't think you're not. No, there's no way. No.
Maybe.
generational. You're not trading a generational player like that. No.
All right. Two more questions. Let's see here. Where was it? What concern, excuse me, what concerns, if any, do you have with the current rebuild and how it's progressing?
Concerns. I think for me, it's we gotta get this coach situation figured out. I mean, I think like that's a big thing. Like I'm not really concerned about the prospects. I think the prospect pool is great. I think it's coming along. Like I've the long-term vision, KD, the drafting, I'm all on board with. You could argue some of these like short-term additions haven't really panned out. Okay, whatever. But it's like for me, it's like nailing this. We gotta get the right coach. He can't fail again there. So I think this offseason getting that down is a big part. I think that'll help a lot with that progression next year as well. And I would say less, bad short-term additions, like no more TJ Brody's, no more Pat Maroons or Craig Smiths. Like I want real additions for next year to see some actual progression, because we were supposed to see progression this year. It hasn't happened. In the long run, I don't think it's going to matter, because I think if anything, getting a higher pick in this draft is a better thing for our future than finishing 25th. But I think next year we can have another season like this. I think we're all in agreement there. We just spoke about it. So yeah, I'd like to see some. I think we've been in the flat line for a while. Like we got to start seeing some uptick here. I think we're at that stage now. Next year is going to be year 4 of his 5-year plan. Like we got to see some actual progression. Like with the Hawks roster, not just the prospects and all that. Yeah.
Lee, you want to go?
Yeah, I'd say just to like add on to that, I think I have like 2 points. The first, the biggest one is just who are we adding to this lineup to like supplement all these draft picks that we have, like all this young talent, like who are the guys we're bringing in to make this a legit
be smarter
competing
this
team?
offseason.
It has to be better than it's been.
It wasn't good.
It's been atrocious so far. So what do we do there? And then lesser so, more minor, because you can't really fault Kyle Davidson thus far on like draft decisions, just because so many of these players are like not even at the pro level yet. But there have been some picks that like I disagreed with.
Ivan Demidov.
that I early on thought was a bad decision and would have made a different pick. And thus far into those players' progression and development, it's clear that they're maybe better than others. So that lesser so than who you're bringing in free agency. I don't know if Tassos, if you had to.
So I'm going to take a different approach. Sorry, I was teeing up. We actually just got another question in chat I want us to answer too. But I'm going to take a weird approach to this one. I'm going to say something that I know you guys feel is a strength in the prospect pipeline. I'm going to say the defense is a bit concerning to me in the rebuild right now. I think that right now you have this Seth Jones contract that's weighing down on the team. Alex Vlasic looks like he's going to be a top 4 defenseman for a long time. But for Kevin Korchinski, you're having him spend 95% of the season in the American Hockey League after you spent last year.
I do think he should be up here right now.
After you spent the entirety of last season letting him make mistakes in the NHL, you've now told him that he's not good enough for an NHL team that is trotting out TJ Brody and Alec Martinez together on a lot of nights.
Yeah.
And you also really gambled on a player in Artem Levshinov, who, look, I'm really high on him. I've said it before on the show that I think he has a lot of runway and that there's probably more. I think last year, like, we kind of knew what Ivan Demidov was going to, like, I think we knew maybe he's, like, been a little bit better, right, with some of the KHL stats, but, like, you knew what you were.
I'm not surprised.
On. Yeah, I don't think anybody's surprised, right? Because you knew kind of what the player was. Now, with Levshinov, there's a lot of, like, what if and, like, what could be, right? Like there's a lot.
There's not a lot of certainty.
The ceiling is incredibly high.
He's raw.
Yeah,
he's raw.
The ceiling is incredibly high. But, like, what's the floor for Artem Levshinov? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he could be, like, I hate to say this, guys, but, like, he could be, like, a number 5 or 6 at best and I'm just saying, like, if his development doesn't go the way we expect it to go. And so then it becomes an issue of who is your high-end defenseman? Like, who is your high-end? Because if your high end is Alex Vlasic and Seth Jones for the next 6 years, your ceiling as a team is probably pretty low. So that's why I say it's the defense. And you have like a lot of these, like, you know, I've really liked Nolan Allen this year. I've liked Del Mastro in his short stints, you know, but you have some of these guys that, like, you know, how good are they going to be really? You know, like, are they really full-fledged National Hockey League defensemen? Like, you look at the decors of the teams that have won the last 3, 4, 5 Stanley Cups, you know, and then you put it up against, like, what these guys could be at their max. Like, you know what I'm saying here? Like, who's the Gus Forsling? Who's the, you know, Ekblad and Montour, and who are some of these guys, right? Or Vegas especially, you know, they have, you know, and they had to bring in Alex Pietrangelo from free agency, and then they have like Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore, who they sniped from the Anaheim Ducks, and Noah Hannafin, but he wasn't on the team when they won. You know, but like Nick Hague is like a big kid too, that's like nails, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's my. I know that sounds like kind of weird. I'm just trying to pick a bit of a different answer. You know, I guess the goaltending is a bit of a concern too, because for me, there's only you have to really hope that you strike gold on a like you have to strike gold on a draft pick with a goalie and hope he turns into like because the jump between the tiers of goalies is stark, right? You know, you have like the elite guys, and then you have maybe the guys that are like right underneath it that like can win you a Stanley Cup. Like Aiden Hill is certainly not in the elite, but like clearly you can win a Stanley Cup with Aiden Hill if the rest of the team in front of you is good enough. So I just like don't think that the Hawks have that kid in their system right now. You know, you're essentially playing roulette, you know, with Comesso or Guyon. Like maybe they become a top 10 goalie in the NHL one day, but you know, what are the odds of that? Are like, you know, every other team is hoping that their goaltending prospects turn into those guys too, right? You know, now that lends to the idea of like just go out and acquire a goalie then if you're looking for one. Like, you know, you can make a trade for one at a later date. So I'm gonna say the defense. I know that's probably not a popular answer, but yeah, I just think you're hinging a lot on Korchinski and Levshinov becoming exactly what you envision them becoming.
I think it's a fair point.
It's a fair point, but I think I'm a hell of a lot more concerned about, you know, supplying Bedard with help versus you know, in potential defense and goaltending problems at this core. That's for me. Yeah, that's my short answer to that.
Yeah, but you know what? Like you can always acquire offense. You know, I know
you could do the same with any position.
Yeah, but defense is hard, man. Like defense is like, you know, like it's really hard. Like, you know, think of the Hawks when they won the cup. Like, how did they get all, like, you know, you drafted and you hit on Keith. You drafted and you hit on Seabrook. You drafted.
I know, these guys are so young. It's like you're already kind of like putting out these what if scenarios that these guys fail. Like these are teenagers we're talking about. Yeah, like we can't even like how can I don't know.
my thing is like you've got so many of these pretty promising young defensive prospects that like, and you only need 6, you know.
And we have more than that right now. I mean, are they all going to pan out? Probably not. But like, there's less holes there in our pool compared to forwards. We have a lot of like middle 6, bottom 6 guys. We don't have a ton of top 6. Oh yeah, that's your wingman for Betsy.
And even if you don't have like superstars, if you've got like several like top 4 guys, that's okay. Like the Panthers, like literally, like I know Ekblad's good, Forsling's good, but like Alex Vlasic is like on pace to become what Gus Forsling is.
There's another name that wasn't even mentioned there, Sam Renzel. Look what he's doing in Minnesota right now. Throw him in that top 4 too. Bam.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just think that you're bound to have like 3 of these guys be like top 4 defensemen, and so it's like like the bottom pairing is kind of always. Bottom pairing defensemen are always getting shipped around every year. Like, you know, that's not really like a worry. But yeah, it's more about having 3 or 4 guys that can play the top 4 minutes. Yeah, that'd be my only pushback is that I think we have enough right now. But yeah, if you get that first overall, maybe take Schaefer.
Oh my God. You two are going to be the death of me.
All right. This is the question from chat, and then we'll get to the fun one I had. Do you guys have a late first rounder you want with our Toronto pick?
Jesus Christ. I mean,
I'm looking at some of the names right now. This is.
I'm not gonna lie.
I'm
I have
not
not watched enough. Yeah, like I do
I'm
not
too hyper
know.
focused on the top 10 of this draft. Where like I don't really know a ton of the names in the later rounds. Like that's something I gotta look more into. I'm sure we will as we approach the draft right now. I think I'm so worried about what we're gonna do with our first pick that I'm not even thinking about the later picks right now. Maybe I should be.
I have a couple of names.
There's
I
that
wouldn't
Jake
mind-
O'Brien kid on Brantford. I know that there's a guy in chat. who's
He's
always gassing him
rising
up.
though quickly. You know,
He's
like,
probably not in that later. He's probably like middle. Yeah.
you know, I'm really high on Blake Fiddler. I think he would be a good pickup for the Hawks there. Brady Martin too for the Sioux Greyhounds is a good player. You know, there's a player, Ivan Ryabkin, who was initially projected to be like a top 3 pick in this draft.
Yeah.
That is going to
Drop crazy.
And Ivan from Russia. Let's make up for our past misgivings there. Right?
I think he's been really good since he came over to the Muskegon Lumberjacks to finish out his season in the USHL. And I think he's been pretty good there. I'll get his stats right here. Yeah, he's got 13 points in 11 games with the Lumberjacks in the USHL. So he's looked really good since making that transition over. Yeah, I think I like those guys a lot. You know, there's a guy, Charlie Trethway, for the NTDP. I don't know how high he's going to go. Logan Hensler, who I expect to be gone by then. But yeah, those are some names.
Beautiful.
Okay. I'm sorry, I think my lip is bleeding. All right. Let's do this fun one that I prepped for a little bit here. So essentially we got asked, I don't have the question in front of me, but if this Four Nations face-off was a World Cup of hockey like 2016, so you included Russia and you included Czechia, what would your Team North America and Team Europe teams look like for this year?
Oh boy.
So I sat down this morning and I made a Team North America roster and a Team Europe roster. And I want you guys to tell me if I made any right decisions, any wrong decisions, or yeah, what that looks like. So here are my Team North America forwards for 2025. Jack Hughes, Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, Cole Caulfield, Matt Boldy, Adam Fantilli, Seth Jarvis, Matthew Nyes, Dylan Genther, Mason McTavish, Logan Cooley, Wyatt Johnston, Quentin Byfield. The defense, Luke Hughes, Owen Power, Brock Faber, Jake Sanderson, Lane Hudson, Thomas Harley, Caden Gooley.
Wait a minute. Where is Alex Vlasic? Where is he?
Is he under 20? Is he 23 or under? Yeah.
I'm taking him over Gooley. Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll make that adjustment right now, actually.
Yeah. Okay, that's good, actually. I like that. That's good. All
and
right.
then my goalies are Dustin Wolf, Spencer Knight, and Devin Levi.
Yeah.
So here,
Yeah,
So I made a just missed the cut portion of it. So Matty Beniers on the outside looking in, Will Smith, Logan Stankoven, Kent Johnson, Shane Wright, Brant Clark, Cutter Gauthier, Cole Perfetti, Cole Sillinger, Jamie Drysdale, Zach Benson.
Break the tank. I'm just kidding. He's not there yet. No. Yeah, I would say any of these guys that maybe could fill in here. I mean, I know Byfield hasn't really had a great season. I would otherwise agree he should be there. Maybe somebody like, I don't know, Perfetti. Maybe he's a little underrated. I don't know. Or Stankoven. He's had a good season. But yeah, defense, I would say I agree. Now that Vlasic's in there, and goaltending, I can't really argue with that.
Goaltending was tough for both of these teams to like try and find guys.
Yeah.
So you guys
otherwise that'd be a good team,
it?
man. Yeah. I mean, the 2016 North America team was something else. It's hard to beat that, but this is, yeah. I think Bedsy. Look at that like center core there, man. Hughes, Bedard, Celebrini. Probably move Bedard to the wing or something. Yeah, Bedard the wing, Jack Hughes wing. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that'd be a fun team. Yeah. I understand why they're not doing it anymore, but it's like, I think it should be the nations. But there was something that was fun to watch at those teams, man. Those Team Europe and Team North America teams. Yeah.
Okay, so here is my Team Europe for 2025. Tim Stützle, Leon Draisaitl, Anze Kopitar, Juraj Slavkovsky, JJ Peterka, Matt Zuccarello, Lucas Reichel, Martin Pospisil, Nico Hischier, Timo Meyer, Nikolai Ehlers, Kevin Fiala, Nino Niederreiter. On defense, you have Mo Seider, Simon Nemec, Eric Chernak, Marty Fevari, Roman Yossi, Jonas Siegenthaler, JJ Moser. And in goal, this is where it gets kind of brutal for them. Freddie Anderson is your starter. Philip Grubauer is your backup, currently playing for the Coachella Valley Firebirds. I think he has like an 856 save percentage this year. And Akira Schmidt is your third guy. And so guys just missing the cut. Pia Suter, Marco Kasper, Philip Kurashev, Leon Bixel, Tomasz Tatar, and Nico Sturm.
Man, you're being pretty generous to Kurashev, even including him in the scratches the season he's had this year. But yeah, I'm happy that my boy Reichel's in there. Yeah, definitely a less, well, I say less exciting team compared to North America, but that top six, though, or at least the top line would be pretty, Stützle, Drysdale, Kopitar. And then there's a bit of a drop off. And yeah, the defense, you got Sider there and Yossi, but even that's a little rough too. And the goaltending, they'd stand no chance.
Yeah, I'm curious, like, what the roster was from last time when they did this.
Yeah, I remember that team being kind of weak too. I mean, I think they still performed though.
Well, they had, here, I will read it off right here. Okay, Freddie Anderson, who's on my team now, Yaroslav Halak, Thomas Grace were your goalies. On defense, you had Zdeno Chara, Yossi, Dennis Seidenberg, Andre Sekera, Mark Strike, Christian Ehrhoff, Lucas Spiza. And then up front, you had Mikhail Bodker. Leon Draisaitl was on the team. I don't even remember that. Yannick Hansen, Marian Hossa, Anze Kopitar, Franz Nielsen, Tomasz Tatar, Thomas Vanek, Mad Zuccarello, P.E. Belmar, Marian Gabrick, Nino Niederreiter, and Tobias Reeder.
That forward group was...
It's actually not that bad.
Yeah, pretty sick.
Well, they made it to the final, know.
They did, yeah. What am I talking about? Yeah, they were not, clearly, the 2016 World Cup hockey is just not very fresh in my mind. Probably because the U.S. sucked in that tournament. Yeah. They've come a long way this last decade.
The Team North America team was
that was ridiculous. Because you had Matthews, you had McDavid, all these guys. Oh, my goodness.
I'll read this roster right now. John Gibson, Connor Hellebuck, Matt Murray were your goalies. On defense, you had Aaron Ekblad, Shane Gostisbehere, Seth Jones, Ryan Murray, Colton Parayko, Morgan Riley, Jacob Trouba. And up front, you had Sean Couturier. Think of how long ago that was that, like, Sean Couturier was on an under 23 and under team.
Yeah. That's insane. It was 9 years ago, man. That's wild to think.
Jonathan Drouin, Jack Eichel, Johnny Gaudreau, rest in peace. Dylan Larkin, Nathan McKinnon, Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, JT Miller, Sean Monahan, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Brendan Saad, and Mark Scheifele.
That was such a
Gaudreau was insane in that tournament. Like, there's a whole YouTube video, just Johnny Gaudreau World Cup highlights. But yeah, that team was something else. Holy jumping.
It's like the best team ever on paper.
Well, who was the team? Was it Team Europe or Sweden? They had like a crazy overtime whip or something
North
like
America.
Yeah, it was like some of the best hockey.
They played Sweden, and Nathan
it might be like
scored.
the best, like one of the best like overtimes you'll ever see. Like, it was crazy. Every game with them was must watch. So yeah, it was a little corny, gimmicky, but like, man, it provides some pretty damn good hockey. It must be said. But for the World Cup 2028, I don't think they're not bringing back those types of teams. So just be 8 nations at least. Yeah.
So that's a good segue into.
There you go. Yeah. No more questions, right?
No.